Hey there everyone, welcome back to another episode of the wickedly breathtaking Kawasaki Z H2 saga. Now today we've got a bit of a serious video for you in the sense of maintenance costs when it comes to supercharged motorcycles, in particular, well, Kawasaki's supercharged offerings in the Z H2 of course, the H2SX and the Ninja H2. Now this isn't really a topic that we've discussed all that much in the past, and I'm a big advocate for these kinds of bikes, so I want anyone who's looking to buy one of these motorcycles going into it fully aware of what they're getting themselves into. And also for today I've got out the Insta360. We're going to give this camera another go as I recently upgraded my video editing machine, so we'll see if we can start bringing that back out again on more shoots, as I did invest quite a lot of money in that camera. Alright, but anyway, let's jump on, let's go. Alright, yeah, this is the first time out since we've done the clutch fluid change on the Z H2. Seems to be going pretty good so far. But yeah, it's a fairly easy job, but it is one of those things that actually comes up on the maintenance schedule of the Z H2 logbook, as it does with pretty much any motorcycle. Alright, so a few of you I've noticed a pattern on videos that we've done on the Z H2 when we've done our reviews, and basically whenever I've recommended this motorcycle, some of you have mentioned about extortionate maintenance costs. Now I bought this bike from new, so it's not really something that I need to worry about just yet, but some people mentioned about the 15,000 mile maintenance interval and the 30,000 mile maintenance interval. And honestly, some of you were saying about, well, some of you were mentioning some ridiculous like maintenance costs for this bike. Some of you mentioned about 2,000 British pounds to do a 30,000 mile service on this bike, and it did get me a little bit concerned because, as I kind of mentioned in the intro, I've been a huge advocate for the Z H2 and I mean pretty much any supercharged motorcycle from Kawasaki. I think they are some of the best bikes in the world right now in terms of their performance, their price as well. They're priced very aggressively, especially compared to some other offerings out there that aren't supercharged, that don't produce as much power as these bikes do. And honestly, I've been very, very impressed. So when someone turns around and says, well, there's a massive con to buying these bikes and that is the maintenance cost, well, I thought I should do a little bit of investigating and, well, kind of tell you guys whether or not that is true. I did have a look in the maintenance schedule of the Z H2 owner's manual, and I compared that to my ZZR 1400, which of course is a more traditional motorcycle. It's not supercharged. It's it's a very similar kind of motorcycle to, well, pretty much any other in terms of its engine and its maintenance and all that stuff. So I mean, yeah, I thought, well, the ZZR 1400 is an expensive motorcycle, so you kind of expect the maintenance cost to be fairly similar between these two motorcycles, between the ZH2 and the ZZR 1400, as they're both around about that £16,000 mark brand new. You can't buy the ZZR 1400 anymore though from new, so that's just something else to keep in mind for any UK or European viewers. But anyone living outside of Europe, where you can still buy a ZZR 1400 from new, well, they should be about the same price, so you'd expect the maintenance cost in theory to be a similar price. I had a look in some forums as well and had a look at what the community was saying about this bike and how they felt when it came to how fair the maintenance costs were of the Z H2 and also other supercharged variants as well from Kawasaki's lineup. And some people have said that the maintenance costs are ridiculous. There is a a bloke in Australia who mentioned that his maintenance costs were coming up to 2,500 Australian dollars, which I think's about £1,000, something like that, which is still ridiculous if you ask me. I mean, when you have a look on MCN as well and you have a look at the reviews on this motorcycle, then the maintenance costs come up at about £200 a year, which is very, very similar to most motorcycles at this price range. £200 a year is, yeah, pretty about right. So when you say that, you know, you're expected to pay £1,000 for a 15,000 mile service or a 30,000 mile service, it's, yeah, it kind of leaves a sour taste in your mouth. But honestly, from looking at the maintenance schedule, the periodic maintenance schedule, I'll actually have screenshots of both the Kawasaki Z H2 on my left and the ZZR 1400 on my right. They're very, very similar between the yearly intervals and the mileage intervals for this work. Very, very similar. And I haven't seen many people saying about how expensive a 15,000, 30,000 mile service has been on a ZZR 1400. So from that perspective, again, you can expect, or you should expect, the maintenance cost to be pretty much exactly the same, or very similar thereabouts. So I don't really know where this has come from, and the only thing that I can think, and anyone that owns a ZH2, let me know down in the comment section below what you've thought about the maintenance costs of a supercharged motorcycle, or anyone that, that's bought a H2SX or a Ninja H2. Let me know what your experience has been of the maintenance costs for those bikes, because from my research, they actually aren't that much different to any other motorcycle at this price range, between 16 and 20,000 pounds. They are, or they should be, pretty much the same. So one of the conclusions that I came to is that a lot of these people are getting ripped off, and it's because you don't know any different, and because, you know, there's a supercharged motorcycle. It's not something that, it's a special bike, you know. It's not a common motorcycle like all the other naturally aspirated bikes that you see out there. Because it's supercharged, you kind of assume that it's going to cost a little bit more to maintain than a normally aspirated bike, but from what I've seen, that's not the case. And as much as the owner's manual says about getting things swapped out at a Kawasaki or authorized dealer, when it comes to even stupid things like changing out the clutch fluid, for God's sake, that's something that you can do at home very, very easily. We've got a video up about that already, so check that one out afterwards if you want to. I'll leave it up on the end screen, I think, at the end of this video, if I remember. But yeah, not a difficult job to do, and anyone can do that at home. Now, of course, you are going to get people that are very anal about servicing their bikes properly at the main dealer, and there's nothing wrong with that. But of course, as with driving cars or what have you, getting the motorcycles serviced and maintained at main dealers is going to cost you more than if you went to a local garage, a local motorcycle garage. They won't charge you as much. But at the same time, you can save yourself a ton of money by doing a lot of the work yourself. Things like oil changes, oil and filter changes, I've done that as well on the ZH2. Really, really straightforward job, and you only need basic tools to do it. And it'll cost you, what, 50, 60 quid for oil and filter, depending on what kind of oil you get. But yeah, between 50 and 60 quid, maybe 70 quid if you want to go for oil that is a little bit more premium. But you can save yourself about half, saving yourself about 60 quid. If you went to either a main dealer or a local garage, they'll probably charge you about 120, 130, 140 quid or more just to do an oil and filter change on this bike. So you can save yourself a ton of money by doing that. And honestly, most of the maintenance tasks you can do yourself. All right, there are going to be certain things like valve checks, valve clearance checks, which, okay, yeah, that is very invasive. You have to take off the petrol tank. You've got to take off the cams, and well, you've got to take off the cam cover, should I say, not the cams themselves, but the cam cover, to do the checks yourself. But again, you actually find that a lot of people won't even bother doing their valve clearance checks. Now, I have to advise everybody to do those kinds of checks to get the most out of your motorcycle, to look after it as much as you can, and do all of the checks that they recommend in your owner's manual at the interval that they recommend. I don't think I can say otherwise. But again, the attitude of riders, certain riders at least, has been that you can get away with not doing valve clearance checks, because it's not like as if you're going to be drag racing the bike everywhere. It's not like you're going to be actually taking this bike on track every weekend. And if you are, then yeah, it's even more prudent to do those checks and to do the maintenance, and if anything, do more maintenance than what the manual actually recommends. Sheep having a stare off with a dog. But yeah, it's tough. It is tough because it's a judgment call, and this is a very expensive motorcycle. So, you know, as much as I'm a penny pincher and as much as I like to save costs wherever I can, there are some things you simply can't avoid. If you don't do anything on your motorcycles, if you don't do anything, change the oil. All right, change the oil every year, 6 months to a year. Or I mean, if you end up doing over 5,000 miles, change the oil as well at that interval, because the bike will last an awful long time with just oil changes. Even though you should be changing things like brake fluid for your safety, you should be changing things like coolant, mainly for the radiator, water pumps, things like that. They can degrade over time if you're not changing out the coolant every once in a while. But the main thing that you need to be doing is changing out the oil. All right? If there's one piece of advice that I can give anyone, regardless of how strict with money you are, change the oil. Change the oil and filter regularly, and then you shouldn't have too many problems. At least any problems that you might get aren't going to be ridiculously expensive to fix. But that's the thing, guys and gals, I haven't got to the point where I've had to go through any of these major maintenance intervals on the ZH2 yet. But a little experiment that I could do in the future, let me know if this is something that you guys want to see, is I could call up some local motorcycle garages and ask them how much it will cost for a 15,000 mile service. You know? And just kind of get a rough estimate of garages in my local area, how much something like that would cost according to the owner's manual, the recommended maintenance from the owner's manual. That could be something that I think I'm going to look into that, because I think that'll give some of you a bit of peace of mind and a bit more context to the situation. Because the one thing that I don't want this video to do is put you off buying one of these bikes. If you have the money to afford one of these bikes, then you probably have the money to maintain them, because they're not cheap. Even used ones from 2020, 2021, they aren't cheap. You'd be lucky if you could find one of these for less than 11,000, 12,000 pounds, you know. But it does pay to look after them, all right? It really does. Especially, you know, because forced induction does have more wear on engines for both cars, bikes, anything. Forced induction does have more wear on these bikes. So it is very important that you do the maintenance as recommended. If anything, do more maintenance than is recommended. Just to make doubly sure that it's going to be alright and it's going to last you. Because you never know with these things. I mean, The ZH2, I think, has been a pretty reliable motorcycle all in all. At least I haven't heard any horror stories of brand new ZH2s that have just been in ruin because because the engine's blown up or something like that, despite the fact that this is fairly new tech. There's a fairly new lineup. I mean, the whole Supercharged motorcycle from Kawasaki has come about from 2015, so it's had quite a lot of time to mature, but the ZH2 in particular is a fairly new lineup. And so, you know, the 2020 models might have some problems, 2021 models might have some issues as well, but they might not be as extreme. But I haven't seen it, to be honest. I haven't seen in forums or in news articles or anything like that about ZH2s being unreliable. But I mean, the reliability, of course, is determined by your maintenance of the bike. All right, so definitely maintain the bike as much as you can. Look after it, and it will look after you. It will look after your wallet in the long run. But yeah, guys and gals, I mean, if you are getting a quote to do 15,000, 30,000, 50,000 kilometers, mile maintenance, servicing and things like that on your Supercharged Kawasaki motorcycle, and it is extortionate, then get quotes from elsewhere. Alright, and yeah, they are going to be extortionate for main dealers. They always are. Alright, and if you are one of those people that insists on getting all of this done by a main dealer, then you're going to have to bite the bullet. It's going to cost you a lot. But definitely look around, shop around. There's going to be more than one motorcycle garage in your area that is able to work on a supercharged Kawasaki bike, you know. So don't be afraid, especially if it's a local garage that you trust and you had them work on motorcycles before, on your friends' bikes, on family bikes, on whatever, or you've looked at reviews of that particular garage and they look good and they're not going to rip you off. Because believe it or not, there are a lot of garages out there that are actually fair and they will charge you a fair rate for work. By the same token, there are lots of garages out there that will try and extort you, especially on a bike like this, which is very expensive and is pretty unique within motorcycles, kind of, well, at least unique within most motorcycles that you see today. It's a fairly unique lineup of bikes, so they might look at that and see dollar signs, you know. I don't know, guys and gals, but it's something to watch out for. Alright, and despite the fact that you'll see in forums about people saying how expensive the maintenance costs are on the ZH2 or on the H2SX, there have been, by the same token, other people in forums that have actually mentioned the opposite, that have said that actually maintenance costs on these bikes aren't as extortionate, aren't as crazy as some people have made them out to be. So it's definitely something that you should shop around and have a look. All right, don't just take the word of one garage and take that as gospel. All right, because yeah, you never know. And this is also true of main dealers, guys, as well. All right, unfortunately, main dealers aren't Kawasaki themselves. Now, as I trust Kawasaki as a brand, I don't know if I trust Kawasaki dealers. They're not Kawasaki, they just sell Kawasaki motorcycles. So yeah, just keep that in mind, all right, that any dealer can rip you off just as much as a local garage would or could. But yeah, anyway, guys and gals, I hope that has cleared up some concerns that some of you in the comments in the past have had about the ZH2, and I hope it's, you know, helped you sleep easy easier at night anyway. I mean, no motorcycle is cheap to maintain, and even though the ZH2 might be a little bit more to maintain than other motorcycles, it should be fairly similar to motorcycles of around about the same price. Like my Kawasaki Z H2 1400, there should be a very, very similar bracket in terms of maintenance costs. But anyway, let me know what you think down in the comment section below, and if you've experienced this situation that we've been discussing in today's video. And yeah, let me know what you think. Has that experience been as kind of mentioned in the comments and in forums and things like that? Let me know. As always, leave a like, get subscribed, and we will catch you all in the next video. Have a good one, guys and gals. Ride safe.